So remember when I told y'all that Microsoft had a lot more leverage than we thought, and they were pretty much going to be the place to play games, regardless of if you're on their platform or not. They have a hand in your pocket. Uh, All of this right here, the stuff that they're doing right now, is playing exactly at how I thought. I thought this was all going to happen. I thought that they were going to be the ones that's going to have somewhat of a monopoly on the lower end and the higher end because they are providing the ability to play their games anywhere, and they also have a subscription that is cheap enough to make people feel comfortable that it's the right solution. And if Sony follows suit, it's going to be bad. Game Pass works because of the lack of interest in Xbox's catalog, the ability to buy in smaller games and not have exclusivity, but the willingness of these small developers to put their game in Game Pass, not exclusivity, mostly the ability to get in at a cheap price. They have to hit the masses. And if Sony is trying to replicate this type of approach with their first parties, with their exclusivity and trying to get games to come into game or whatever they call it, it's not going to work the same way as Microsoft big bands. I have all the money in the world will be able to do it. And that's the problem I see happening. Um, the reason why they don't care if you buy their console or not, and they can continue to raise prices, is because it's just not in the cards for them to sell you one anyway. They would rather you just play their games, and however you decide to access them, that's how you decide to access them. So you got the PC, you got the handheld coming, you got the game, you got the console, you have pretty much the gambit. You have Game Pass, you have streaming where you can just play it via TV. You don't even need a freaking console. It's becoming a little bit like, hmm, if I actually want a game and only and buy more than one or two games every quarter, I would probably need to buy Game Pass. I would probably need to kind of look for alternatives and understand people like, oh, I want to do the back catalog. Yeah, you can keep doing the back catalog all you want, but some of these new games are going to entice you. And you know who got the cheapest way to play new games? Xbox. Game Pass. And it's like one of those things where, man, I just see it becoming a monster. Let's just talk about some of the stuff we've seen so far from Game Pass. Some of the stuff that we got know that's coming soon, right? And then the stuff that is already out. So coming to Game Pass not too far from here. 514, we getting Doom Dark Ages. We getting that Alters game, another one of those indies. We getting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4. We getting Wu Chang. We're getting the new game from I think this is from Rocket League. Is it? Yeah, I believe this is Rocket League. But I'm not 100% sure. But the rematch game, and this is all coming not in the next couple. This is the next couple of months, man. Ain't even that far out. And then the stuff that they already had dropped recently. We're talking Expedition 33. We're talking Oblivion, dude. They just put Blueprints in there. That's probably another one of those Game of the Year contenders for the indie titles. We got South of Midnight. We had Atomfall. We got Towerborn today. I just don't see it. People have limited amount of time. People's budgets are even worse. Like for real, you don't have the budget to go out and pick up all these games. I know people in the comments are going to say, "Yeah, we do," but you're probably the few and far in between. You are not the norm. I wish you would understand that. Normal people do not go out and buy two games a month. It's not in their cards, more than likely. And even if they do go out and buy a game, it's probably going to be the same general ones that they always buy. That's why Call of Duty always sells so much. That's the one game most people are going to buy regardless. NBA, all the simulation games, of course. Nobody's going out to buy Blueprints. Nobody's going out to buy Expedition 33. It's not a lot of them. So, with this Game Pass subscription, all it is doing with every time somebody raises the price, it is providing more value and a cheaper entry for people to jump in and start to decide, hey, I can no longer keep up with PlayStation's continuous requests for $80 games every time I want to play something new. I might have to tag along to a subscription that will allow me to try these games, because renting is no longer an option either. You got GameFly, but a lot of people don't even understand what that is or use it. So there is limited sources of ability to kind of play new games day one, little to no interruption. This platform is the choice. It's very simple. I feel like as we continue to become from a hobby to an expensive luxury, we're going to continue to see the downfall of our other contenders out there like Nintendo and Sony. I'm not saying it's going to be soon, but there has to be a breaking point where people decide that I'm not gonna buy all y'all games. I'm not gonna buy every first party. I'm not even gonna buy these even the cheaper ones. I'm just not gonna buy your games until I feel like it's appropriate time to buy them. And that's gonna continue to kill the market. It's gonna continue to make people get laid off because they can't afford to hold the balance of, making a new game and nobody buying it because they have outpriced themselves out the market. Whereas on this Game Pass subscription, it doesn't matter. They can put out whatever they want because they have subscription based service. They have people that would probably still be willing to justify that $20 bill every month for the multitude of games that they're putting in. Everybody can keep saying that it's a problematic service, but at the end of the day, it's the only service that is providing gamers an option to play multiple games a year for a cheap price. I don't see it getting better. I just see it getting worse. And that's because I really don't know. I really don't know how to justify these price hikes. Um, I've never seen it where the price of a console goes. It was better for you to jump in 5 years ago than it is today, and what is that precedent set for the future? And that's probably why extensively everybody's trying to do cloud gaming and all this other stuff, because they understand that at some point people are not going to be able to afford consoles to play their games if they want to try. They still need to kind of keep that platform available for people that don't have the ability to pay for the console but can potentially earn some money based off of that one game they want to play. Xbox is the only one taking that serious. Everybody else is not. And maybe that's justified. Maybe it's okay. We obviously saw the Nintendo Switch 2 just drop, and pre-orders sold out like crazy because people still had an incentive to want to buy it. Maybe I'm just thinking of this too crazy because Game Pass and how crazy of a deal it is to me compared to the rest of the field. But as you saw, Nintendo had no problem selling the console and those $80 games. So I don't know, man. All I can say is that I'm worried that Microsoft might be a little too big for what is finna happen next. Because as they continue to steal market share, simply due to the fact that the sheer amount of space they take up in the room now, and the fact that they can still put their games on other consoles and still have people have the opportunity to let them buy that game. They don't need the consoles in the home anymore, but they still have the best options for you when it comes to cheap entry, mid entry, high end entry. Like, they are still the best day and date games, platform allowing cross save and cross progression, all of the things that you need to kind of just build out something that is going to be continuously lucrative versus potentially losing steam as people can't afford these new consoles and can't afford to continue on during generations versus, the latter of having backwards compatibility all the way moving forward. It's kind of like, I don't know what the future holds, but I know that Microsoft's is the brightest. And that is why they can make these types of moves and nobody say anything. Or, well, not say anything, but they can do these things and nobody bats an eye. I just feel like, paying $5.99 for an Xbox Series X when I paid $4.99 is kind of insane. Paying $7.29 for a 2 terabyte Galaxy Back Special Edition when you can buy a Pro with 2 terabytes for $6.99 right now, and that's, like I said, that's going up. It ain't gonna be no $50. It's gonna be $100. So a lot of this stuff, man, it just tells me that the hobby that I used to love is no longer going to be universally um, appreciated, because it's just going to be so expensive that people can't afford to appreciate it for what it is. They're going to be very defensive on what games they buy, and it's not going to be pretty for the developers either. Like, this is going to be a problem that they have to solve for, because you have to meet your customers where they are, not where you want them to be. And if your customers are going to be etched out to the point where it's all, high end luxury, the luxury thing to have, it's like, who's going to continue to drive the ship there? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if subscription services are better for the business, but I do know that there's clearly a more well equipped company to me. And I wonder what that will look like in 5 years.